What is up, guys? Welcome to another Professional Overrun Podcast episode. Sitting to my left, I've got Dan Elsner, owner of Get Bit Baits. Now, a lot of people know you already, so this is going to be kind of fun. Hopefully, we've got some great comments rolling in, and we've got some giveaway product to kind of help advertise a little bit.
Oh, definitely. We got that new color that I just came up with. I even got it on the website yet.
There we go. So somebody's going to win some
Flipping
packs
tubes
that aren't even available to purchase yet. To win some product, guys, first thing, just ask some questions. If you got any questions for Dan and stuff like that throughout the entire stream, feel free to chime in. We'll get them asked if they're appropriate. I should preface by saying that first. They do have to be appropriate. I know,
definitely.
Just simply because a lot of people do know Dan. I assume we'll see some interesting ones.
Come on.
Probably going to be the case. All right, Dan, let's hear a little bit about you. Give us a little bit of background, your story and stuff like that. Obviously, Get Bit Baits has been a big part of the last, 15 years of smallmouth fishing?
Oh, yeah, at least 15.
At least 15 now?
Yeah, I actually, when I first started this, I was basically a trout fisherman, and I started bass fishing when we got the droughts back in 95 where a lot of the trout streams are getting closed and stuff like that. So I started doing some bass fishing and made some friends in the bass community. And I loved it. I mean, like we all do, bass fishing is pretty exciting. You can go catch bass a lot easier than you can catch a steelhead. They're a very tough fish to catch compared to that. But, so, I took my trout tactics that I did by batch and the hatch and started pouring my own plastic because I seen on the market there were no good colors. There were no good products. Back in the early 90s, it was very, very slim. You had the ribbon tail worm. You had, the few things. People were coming out with tubes, but they weren't really popular yet or none of that stuff. And as soon as I seen the 2 3/4 inch tube, I was like, oh, my God. Talk about the perfect match, the hatch kind of bait. It looks like a bluegill. It looks like a crawfish. You can imitate so many different things. So I took that natural color premise and started making colors and, came up with green pumpkin copper.
That's by far my favorite, one of my top favorite colors. Dark Melon's my favorite, but
yeah, and the green pumpkin copper is just phenomenal. And what's really cool about it is the fleck represents the color, and you don't have to overdo it. It attracts the fish because they see that little glint, that little shimmer, and the color, the natural color or whatever, and it's over. If you're not paying attention, you know what I mean. They'll swallow it.
Oh yeah, no, they inhale the thing, and you're gonna have to cut your line, retie, because obviously, yeah.
Yep.
We did that a lot, a couple days on the water, a lot.
I remember the one time me, you, and your friend were up on Lake X. Well, I'm not going to say the Lake X. And remember that I bet you we caught close to 50 or 60 4 or 5 pound bass that day.
Yeah,
it was incredible. Yeah, and they were just swallowing it.
Yeah,
so you really got to pay attention, sensitive rod, that kind of thing.
Yeah, if you got bit and you didn't set the hook, within 2 seconds they inhaled the thing, swallowed it.
Yeah,
it was incredible to see. And but let's talk a little bit about the background of the company. So you started designing your own plastics and stuff like that, and your own colors specifically because you didn't find what you wanted from the other companies. And you've got some sort of chemistry and stuff like that went into all this.
Yeah, before I went to Point, I took a year of chemistry at NWTC and got some chemistry background on it. And I was actually working with the original owner, Charlie from Crooked Creek, back in the early 90s. I didn't plan on making my own baits. I basically was working with him, getting him to do colors and things to do that. And him and his wife decided to retire. They're going to walk away. So I took the horns. I said, hey, I don't want to buy the company, but I'd like to get the information, and I'm going to start making my own just for my personal use. You know? And he's like, yeah, great. So he gave me the original formula and stuff like that. And what was really shocking is when I got that formula is the chemistry in it wasn't right. It was too hard. It was, not as movable, not as pliable like it should have been. So I tweaked the formula and came up with the original Get Bit tube. And, I started fishing tournaments and everybody was watching my success. I wasn't winning a lot of tournaments, but I was always up in the top 5. I've made 13 state teams over my lifetime. In 17 years, I've made 13 state teams between bass and TBF. And I've actually made it to the national championship fishing my baits. And
we'll touch on that in a little bit, but yeah, continue on that.
Yeah, so, I tweaked it. I started doing it. Next thing you know, This guy wanted to buy it. This guy wanted to buy it. And before I knew it, I'm selling baits. It was never the plan, and it's still not the reason why I do it. I don't do it for the money. I do it for catching fish. That's the number one thing it's all about, is catching fish, fooling them fish. And, being a trout fisherman and a fly tyer and making my own baits that way, to be able to pour my own plastics and do the thing, it was so cool.
Definitely, yeah.
So next thing you know, I've got this lineup of baits and I've got all these people that are interested, and I started a website, and now it's crazy. It's just, I can't keep up.
Yeah, definitely. No, I know a lot of the year last year and stuff, you were out of some colors and whatnot, the most popular ones, and it's hard to keep up with anything. I mean, last year in general was tough on the entire fishing industry. I don't know how it affected you as much as anybody else, but I mean, the volume of baits that you're putting out now has been awesome.
Oh, and it's crazy. I mean, I'm a family-run company. My daughter and my wife, my daughter Amber and my wife Laura, help me do all the stuff. She does the shipping. I help do the packing. My wife does, or my daughter does the packing. I do pouring. So the three of us are trying to keep up with this massive amount of baits going out with the COVID and all that stuff this year. It was great. I mean, we had the best year we've ever had. All our stores have done really good. You guys, Dick Smith's down in Milwaukee's done real well. Windrose North up in Menominey's done real well, where you used to work. And we've gotten, contacted by a lot of other places, but there's a lot of places I don't choose to work with.
Sure.
I work with the best in the industry, the people that are professional, the people that aren't copycatting, that aren't using the garbage copycats that are out there, so to speak. Because let's face it, when you come up with a system and a way to fish, everybody wants a part of it, especially if they're trying to make money. I'm looking at the fishing industry right now, and it just makes me sick, because there's all these people that are off of work and they want to start making their own baits and selling their own baits, but they're not doing it for the right reason. They're doing it for money. It's not about money. It's about catching fish.
Right.
That's why my prices are where they are. That's where I keep my price point low. It don't cost me much more for my plastics and stuff like that. So I just keep going at what I've got. I don't have to gouge people.
Right.
I want to help people fish. I want to help, fishers and men type thing, get more people and more people using my baits. It's hard to explain the feeling you get when somebody, like even a 10-year-old or 11-year-old kid, texts you and says, "I just caught my biggest bass ever on your baits." I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Oh yeah, no, that's always awesome. That's the nice thing about being able to be on the forefront of that, as far as my position goes, and selling them and stuff like that. And I've been helping represent Give It Baits for about, I think, 5 years now or something like that.
At least, yeah.
Since we got in contact with each other, and I can't say there's another bait that has changed how I fish so much, or I've learned so much about fishing in the last 5 years, more than specifically using tubes, and specifically Give It Baits tubes.
Oh, thank you. That makes me feel real well.
Seriously, there's no other bait that has caught more fish for me. Hands down, smallmouth fishing. Everybody in Wisconsin kind of knows the deal on this, and I mean, it's interesting because you say you get to choose who you work with, so it's a small company that has a quiet, big name following, I would say, right?
Yeah, basically.
So like I mean, you've secretly got top tier guys using your baits that are, I wouldn't say sponsored, but and I'm sure we don't want to name.
Oh yeah, I mean there were several BASS Elite Series 1 last year on my baits, or helped win some people. I know the FLW and the MLF, there's different guys that were using my baits, but yeah, I'm not a high profile guy. I'm not going to pay somebody to sell my baits. My baits sell themselves.
Right.
Once you fish them, you'll know the action, everything. You can put them in a tank and test them. I mean, they're incredible. They become alive when you get them in the water. They represent so many different forages, like your favorite, the dark melon copper, looks just like a perch. I mean, all these colors, they represent something, and
right.
It's funny because then I get people all over the country that want certain colors for their areas. So now I got specific colors for specific areas that people do extremely well on, but they don't want to tell anybody about it. and I can dig that. I have no problem with that, because I'll be quite honest. I mean, how much would my fishing career have changed if I wouldn't have exposed this to everybody, if I would have kept it secret?
Right.
Especially the crawling tube. You know, that
Did you
crawling.
bring any of them with you?
I did not bring anyone.
I was just looking on the table. I was like, man, I see one thing that's missing, man.
Laura'd kill me. Laura's the main maker of them right now, and she has a hard time keeping up with it. It's incredible. It's by far our best-selling bait is that crawling tube.
Sure.
And, well, you've seen it in action.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible.
It's the deadliest. I don't advertise bed fishing a whole lot, but sometimes it's hard to get away from it. But it is the deadliest bed fishing bait on the planet. Like, there's no doubt it is the best.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically, that's how I came up with it. You know, I was fishing the Sturgeon Bay Open and a lot of the opens early in the spring and fishing bedding bass. And I was trying to think, what's the easiest way to catch that bass the quickest? You know, so because sometimes you can't tell. You know, you look in the water and the fish looks like a 5-pounder or a 4-pounder, but it might be a 3.5-pounder. You don't know. It could have been spawning there. It could be losing weight from being on the bed for longer, whatever. So I wanted to figure out the quickest way I could catch those fish, and I made that. I hand sewed it and made it the first time, and you throw it out there and you can leave a limp line and leave it on the bed, and the fish come up to it and they flare their pectoral fins,
yep,
and it comes alive. It starts moving, and you can have your line flat on the bottom, and that bait will start moving in there. The fish never seen that before, and they just inhale it. I mean, there's another one you got to really be careful, because if you don't pay attention, they're going to be bleeding or way back in the back of the throat.
Right.
So that's why it's nice to keep an eye on the bait while you're doing it. But
now, for guys that don't know what the crawling tube is, I mean, you can certainly explain it, but basically it is a standard tube that is threaded with living rubber?
Yes.
In color matching schemes and whatnot. And basically, it's got all sorts of different strands coming out of all sides of the tube.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter how it lands or anything like that. You can fish it on many different ways. And basically, as soon as you toss it out on a bed and you, like you said, let it sit there, when those fish come back and look at that bait, even them swimming past that bait will make that rubber move. And that's what gives it that action, that super subtle action that they just can't stand when it's sitting on their bed.
Yeah, it becomes alive without you moving your line.
Exactly, yep.
Because their lateral line can feel your line. If you got your line there, especially if they're high pressured fish, they can feel that vibration of your line cutting through the water.
Sure.
So by throwing it out there, leaving it on the bottom, and having it move on them, they're like, what? That's not supposed to be there.
Right.
It's totally different than having your line move. They can kind of sense there's something not right, I think. And it's conditioned fish. It's not that they're smart, that they understand that. It's they're conditioned. Mm-hmm. Just like Pavlov's dog. People don't understand that sometimes. But the more fishing pressure, the more they see something, the more it's the same. And if they get no reward from it, well, then they know that, hey, I got to stay away from that.
Right.
That's why, like, a lot of guys that fish the 4-inch flipping tube, they'll be on a jig bite, and the jig bite will start going sour or south, and they'll switch to that tube, and they'll hammer them. I mean, they do extremely well. It's kind of the same action, but a little bit different presentation. Falls different, and it really turns them largemouth on too.
Oh, definitely. Speaking of largemouth, I know we got some other different styles, not just tubes, by the way. So I know everybody was, kind of picking on me about, this
we got your favorite right here,
smallmouth. Yeah, so there's a couple largemouth baits that I've been using since they came out that have changed the baits that I use. I mean, obviously you don't make everything yet, but I know there's a couple questions that I need to ask you too, and I know Casey Kmichik was one of the people that told me to ask one of these questions. But we'll save that for the end because I think that's kind of important.
Okay.
But there's specific largemouth baits, or not specifically largemouth baits, but baits that I have started using a little bit differently that I stopped buying everything else, because by far the best jig trailer is, in my opinion, this floating craw. The one that I've got here in my hand is the Green Pumpkin Copper.
Yep.
Green Pumpkin Gold? Copper.
Green Pumpkin Copper.
Green Pumpkin Copper. This thing paired up with a Green Pumpkin like skipping jig and stuff like that. The claws are, it's one of the most durable chunks. Like when you rip the body off, it's one of the most durable trailers that floats on the market.
And it's one of the first ones, now we got all these people that are selling floating craws and all this stuff like that. I was way ahead of that You know, the chemistry was way ahead of that with me. I mean, I had the floating worms. I had the 4-inch floating drop shot worm. You know, all that stuff way in the beginning because I knew that certain presentations required floating products. You know, you want that jig when it hits the bottom to come out and hit that defensive position because then that bass thinks it's real. You know, and as soon as those claws float up like that, it's in the defensive position, and then bass just whack it. That's like our hypercraw here has a different kind of paddle, and that different kind of paddle actually emits different action than you normally get. So when you're on a jig bite, say on Shawnee Lake, and everybody's fishing one bait, or like the head-to-head where Justin Colpett was using it, he caught a lot of fish and catching a lot of fish behind people. Why was that? Because he wasn't using the heavy flapper claws. He was using the subtle hypertail cross, and it's a different action, a different feeling that those fish feel, and they haven't seen it before. And you know.
Oh, sure, it's everything together, different type of plastic. Now the other thing too is I've seen some pictures, and I've got some pictures of literally tubes that have been absolutely destroyed and mangled. Like if you don't break them off, it's almost impossible to wear one of these things out.
Yeah.
You catch like 60 fish on one tube if you don't lose it.
Yeah, I've known people who've sent 13, 17, 20 fish on one tube, and they keep throwing it. You know, Elijah Sound, a good friend of mine.
That was one of the pictures that I was thinking of. That thing is so mangled and destroyed.
There's no tails left on it.
Right.
It's just the body, and he was still catching fish on just the body. You know, it's incredible. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
But that's why I do it. That makes me feel good, you know. And it's there again, it's the chemistry in the product. You got to have it soft and subtle so the fish grab it and they feel like it's real. But at the same time, you got to have it durable enough so you can catch more than one fish on it.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of products out there that you can only catch one fish on it. That's because they don't understand the science. They don't understand the chemistry of the baits. They're just trying to make money. You know.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. No, there's a reason why the custom. There's a lot of people go into custom pours and stuff like that for specific colors. But yeah, the fact is that a lot of these baits don't have the correct either whether it's salt content or the plastics I'll use or whatnot. And
well, it's like making a cake. You got to have it at the right temperature for the right amount of time. You got to mix it correctly. There's a lot of different subtle things that make the difference on the plastic. You know, that's why when I do my tubes, I can only do one batch at a time because the salt falls to the bottom. You can't keep it aggregated enough, and you get inconsistencies, and you get hard junk plastic, like I call it.
Sure.
Coffee can plastic. There's a lot of them out there too. I won't mention no names because I'll be nice to people, but I know you guys discontinued one of them. The former podcast guy was big on them.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Well. They're still technically on the floor. We haven't moved them out of the store yet. But
for what reason? You know, you sell 10,000 of mine and you sell 3 or 4 of theirs. I mean, I seen it. I pay attention to that.
Right.
You know, because it's important to me. I want you guys doing well. I mean, that's why I promote the stores I work with, and I continue to work with the ones I do, because they're awesome people. They're doing it for the right reason, and they're trying to help the angler out. You know, it's not about the profit. You know, it's not about the money. I mean, obviously we're all here. That's what we want to do, is make the money. But if you do it the right way, the money comes.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You make the best product on the market. People buy it. You know, no doubt about that. So, I know one of the questions here. This is going to be a little off the bass topic, but because you brought up trout and stuff right away, it's not too far off. Matt asked. Seeing you catching a lot of browns in the Menominee, would you be willing to share your setup for that?
I don't sell brown trout stuff, so I'm sorry. I can't help you on that.
That's true.
I can't help. True. There's a reason they call me Steely Dan. That's why I got my nickname. You know, actually back in the early 90s, I made one of the first and I think only steelhead video ever released in Wisconsin in 92 using the old VHS camcorders. And
I think I've seen some super old footage of this.
Yeah, it's called Wisconsin Steelheading, and it was pretty incredible. But that back then, there were so many fish in the system that you could fish them year round. They had summer runs, they had fall runs, they had winter runs, they had spring runs, you know. And so you could pretty much fish. In fact, the one year I was guiding and filming and stuff, I believe I was like 21 or 22 years old. I fished 342 days that year and caught a steelhead almost every day.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like I said, the Wisconsin DNR had one of the best steelhead fisheries back then, when they were planting Skamanias and Shasta and Chambers Creek and Ganaraska. So they had four strains of fish. Then they started doing the sea forel and brown, which you've seen how big those things are.
Yeah, they're incredible fish.
I still remember that picture of that male I caught that year up at the dam. That thing was probably close to 30 pounds. He was like a 38-inch male with a big kype on it. They're incredible fish, and that's like I said, that was my first love. But once I started bass fishing, I mean,
it's exciting.
It's way more exciting. You can compete against you young guys. Us older guys can still have a little bit of a chance. I mean, not a whole lot, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. My three favorite fish are a salmon, a steelhead, and a smallmouth, though. Sure. And I think pound for pound, a smallmouth fights better than any other fish. Steelhead's a real close second. You get them in the summer and they're flying out of the water and going crazy, just like the smallies do. But, I'm very blessed. I live 10 minutes away from the mouth of the Green Bay, where the Fox dumps in. So I got smallmouth fishing 10 minutes from my house. I got Sturgeon Bay is only 35, 40 minutes. That's probably why I've caught 14 fish over 7 pounds in my life and one 8-pounder. My biggest is 8.32.
And that is impressive. That is, I mean, without a doubt, like, catching 1 over 7 in your life is incredible. 14?
And it's part of being in the right spot. Well, you've seen the 7.2 I caught last year.
Right.
24 inches long. It should have been way heavier. And don't get me wrong, I'm very happy and everything. Like, I was excited about that fish, but a 24-inch fish, you'd think be weighing 8-9 pounds.
Yeah, that's a tank. Especially that was in Green Bay.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
That was in Green Bay. Definitely. It was actually in Little Sturgeon.
Really?
Yeah.
There's some big fish out there in that bay.
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. You've seen the one that Alex caught for, we won Big Bass in Sturgeon Bay Open last fall.
Yep.
That was a 6.8 or 6.6, I believe.
Yeah, that was a big fish too.
He actually caught that 5 feet away from my waypoint where I caught the 7.2. So there's something there in the structure, these rocks and this boulder that's there. I mean, it's a giant boulder. And I think that was a big key to holding those big fish. I'm hoping they're there again this year. You never know. Every year it changes out there.
This is the issue. So like a lot of the young guys and stuff like that have electronics and whatnot. But obviously you have 30 years experience fishing the bay.
Oh yeah. Like well, not quite 30. I think it was 96 was my first time. So it was 24 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's plenty of time. So that goes back to the argument of experience versus skill, or experience versus what's the other term? Youth, I guess. I don't know exactly. But electronics, experience versus electronics would be a good way to put it.
Yeah, well, and the funny thing is, I never even got side imaging till 2 years ago. You know that,
right?
I've been fishing offshore my whole time since I started bass fishing. I started fishing offshore, and in fact, I believe I was the first one to ever catch a 6-pound plus smallmouth and weighed in the tournament in Northeast Wisconsin. It was with Mark Seletsky and the NEW up on Cauldron Falls, nonetheless. But
there's fish in Cauldron Falls?
Oh, yeah. There's some big fish in Cauldron Falls. Some big ones.
Maybe not anymore. But
well, fishing pressure does that. It changes. Right. Are they still there and we're not getting the bite, or has that year class gone? That's a big thing. That's why the bay is so incredible right now. The year classes keep getting better and better and stronger and stronger. And back in the early or late 90s, when they first had that Sturgeon Bay Open, they opened the whole body of water up. So there were fish coming in from everywhere. You had the river fish from the West Shore, you had all the East Shore fish, and then you had the lake fish. So all those fish combined, and I think the genetics from those combinations made our fishery what it is today. Of course, the gobies played a big role on it too.
Right.
But when I first started in tournaments out there, you weren't catching 25-pound bags. You weren't catching a limit of 5-pounders. Now a limit of 5-pounders sometimes don't even cash you a check.
Right.
depending, because we got such great, we got a lot of great anglers in Wisconsin. I was thinking about moving to Michigan or Ohio or something, give me a little more chance, get away from that curve a little bit.
I know. So Daryl asked the question here, and I for the life of me, I've been thinking about how to picture this. How do your tubes hold up to jigs with the push holders? I'm assuming he means like the standard like lead molded like holder, like kind of like that style. Like You know what I mean?
The football head?
Well, like not that style of head, but I mean the actual like hook keeper. I should say. So do they? I'm assuming he's asking if they tear up in the head real easy, or if it's or how durable they are when you push them onto a jig like that.
They're pretty durable. I don't got a reinforced head or nothing like that for my flipping tubes, but I know a lot of people that I can't say no names, but cash a lot of checks and all the ACs and all that stuff. They're flipping my tubes.
Yep.
And if you look back and look at my friends list, you can see some people that have made comments and stuff about it. But they hold up pretty well.
Okay,
definitely.
Perfect.
The blend of plastic is made to be durable yet soft.
Okay.
So.
Man, Daryl, I'm a little confused. I see the comment title shot there, and I guess I'm not familiar with that specific jig. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. Joe asked, when do you throw the finesse tube versus the original tube?
I love throwing the finesse tube in the fall. The biggest thing with the finesse tube is it falls different than everything else out there. It spirals down. Okay, so it looks like a dying bait fish. So if you're fishing the fall or whatever, when the fish start dying off and stuff, it mimics what the bait fish are doing for the fish. Rick Morris did extremely well in a couple of his spot tournaments, fishing them for spotted bass. Unfortunately, he couldn't get my jigs, and he ended up losing the second day. I'm going to lose 4 or 5 fish because the hook's bent out.
Sure.
But, I've got a specific system with specific sizes for all my tubes and everything that I started pouring. I was one of the first on the market to actually start making it available to get a 1/0, a 2/0, and a 3/0 hook in all 4 weight sizes. And basically the whole thing comes down to is you wouldn't use a ball peen hammer for framing.
Right.
You wouldn't use a framing hammer for body work. You got to have the right tool for the job. That's why I started making the 1/0, the 2/0, and the 3/0 hooks for the different size tubes.
Now, you got examples of them right here. We can pop them out, we can show them on the camera and stuff and see the actual different sizes. And I think that was one of the most important things that I learned right away when I actually started smallmouth fishing was hook size is incredibly important. You don't want that hook shank sitting outside of the or in the tentacles of the tube. You want it to come right past the body and bend up. I think you get your best action that way. I know we're going to have a very hard time seeing exactly. Let's see if we can display this.
Here's the 1/0. The 1/0's extremely small. It's basically made for our tiny tube. I came up with this tiny tube. I believe it was in 2012.
See if we can get a good angle on this. This is a very small hook. A very small hook.
Yep, and it's made for this tiny tube right here.
Let's see here. Oh yeah, So we're gonna get a close up on that. Let's see if we can do this. So I'm gonna hold this here, and then if you can hold the baits in front of the card there.
I'll actually what I'll do is I'll put a 1/0 hook in there once, and I'll show people.
Oh, there we go. We'll do that.
Yeah.
That'll work.
This is the tiny hook, the 1/0 hook that I pour for this. A lot of people will use this depending on the conditions on trying to keep it from getting snagged or schmeck-em or stuff on it too. So they'll go with this with the 2 3/4 inch tube as well.
Schmeck-em is an interesting term. I think was that coined by you?
The bottom slime.
Yeah.
The little stuff you get on your bait. Did you ever notice that, like on the bay, when you have that on your bait and the fish bite, they'll spit it right back?
Oh yeah, immediately.
Yeah.
You get thumped, and then when you swing and miss, that's because you've got that stuff on there.
So if you look at that, it comes out perfect on the back of that.
Yep. So let's see if we can. Yeah, there you go. Get a super close up on that. You can see the flake in there just pops. That looks awesome. Yep. So that is the tiny tube you call it, right?
The tiny tube, correct.
Okay, so the tiny tube, how long is that?
2.5 inches.
Okay, so that one's 2.5 inches. And then in comparison...
We're going to give these all away, but we're going to open them, so I apologize to whoever's getting it.
Well, you might get one that's rigged up. Maybe it'll...
No, this is the 2 3/4 inch tube. Whoa. So this is amber red right here.
Yeah, we don't need to show that color.
So the 2 3/4 inch tube, you're going to want to use a 2/0 hook. So I'll grab this 2/0 out. And some people will go with a 3/0 if the fish are biting light, depending on what's going on, maybe bedding fishing circumstances or whatever. But it's the same thing. The hook size and length is perfect.
Yeah, and the biggest key to all this is obviously the system is there for a reason. It's been proven. You're using great quality hooks. You're actually pouring all of these yourself.
Correct.
There you go.
As you can see, it comes out perfect right on the back of the tube here.
Yep. So that bend.
I use all Mustad Ultra Point hooks.
Nice. So yeah, you can see how that bend, the hook comes right behind the body, right where those tentacles are falling. Also, you'll notice on these baits as well is they're not stiff. Like the tentacles are moving and they're falling from the bait. You know, that's one of the biggest. I actually came up with a way to open those bags without destroying them.
Yeah, so have I.
Waiting for one to split out the side or something like that.
So now, here's something I'm going to show everybody that my buddy Barry Wolf and I came up with back in when we first started tournament fishing in '99. You know, the Goby's got that big head to him and whatever. So like I said, being a trout fisherman, profile, color, all that different all those little things make a difference. So we take a football head and lube it up a little bit and put it in this finesse tube. And it works in the 2 3/4 tube, but the finesse tube, you can really see the bulge. The bulge on it like that. Gives it the Goby head.
There you go. That's perfect.
So you just take a 1/4 ounce football head, throw it in this here, and next thing you know, you got a little Goby.
So that was the other thing, I guess, that goes into that question. Back to what Joe was asking there, the single or the finesse versus the original. And you said that the action is a little bit different on the finesse versus the original tube. What weight are you throwing in that normally that you're getting that spiral down? Obviously, if you're throwing the heavier one, it's going to fall faster.
Yep. I mean, and that's the whole thing. How deep of water are you fishing? I'm 3/16 is probably my main weight that I go with 95% of the time. 1/4 ounce is another one that I like to use a lot. I'll go as deep as 20 to 22 feet with a 1/4 ounce head.
Nice.
If I'm deeper than 22 feet, I'll go with that 3/8 ounce head.
Just sensitivity and feel and stuff like that is pretty much
feel the bottom. You know, if it's extremely rocky, I want to go a little bit lighter so I'm not snagging up as much.
Yep.
You know, different parts of each body of water have different sizes of rock, you know, obviously. So if you're in gravel and stuff like that, it's never bad to have a big, heavy tube get down on the bottom and bounce that thing around, especially in the fall.
Oh, definitely.
You know, that's kind of a good presentation. But, yeah, I dictate by what depth of water I'm fishing, you know, what I'm doing, where the fish are. Are the fish suspended? You know, if the fish are suspended, you want to go with a lighter weight so that bait falls through the strike zone slower.
Right.
You know, so you put a heavy weight on it and it falls right past them, rockets in there in the top 2 feet of 8 feet of water. Well, you're not going to get any bites. You switch that over to an 1/8 ounce or my new 16th ounce. I'm waiting to get the mold so I can start making. That makes a huge difference. You know, it's staying in the strike zone longer. The fish get a chance to see it and react to it, and you know, you get more bites.
Yeah, definitely. A couple more comments came in here. Gary says only tubes I use awesome for smallies and sturgeon, but even catch walleyes in the Northwoods.
Gary.
Clun?
Oh, okay.
Clone?
Cool. Awesome.
Last names, man.
I thought it was maybe Gary Atkins. I was like, thanks for the shout out, Gary.
I don't know if he's willing to give up a bunch of stuff.
Oh, he don't say much about it.
He's pretty quiet. He's pretty quiet.
He's an incredible fisherman, though.
Yeah,
I tell
that
you.
is true.
Just like Travis. You know, Travis Manson's, me and him were actually partners back before he made the tour. And I got to fish with him as a partner and stuff. Awesome. What a great guy. A lot of fun. And he still promotes the heck out of me. I don't do anything for him. He just does it because he's either my friend or because he really likes the product. And I think it's awesome.
I'm leaning towards the latter. He really likes the product.
He likes the product. You don't like me so much. Yeah, I can rub some people the wrong way. I know that. I definitely know that.
Right. No, last night I did watch one of Travis Manson's podcast shows, and yeah, like just happened to chime in on there, and you know that's what they're talking about was tubes. So I know this morning he was pushing a lot of product out the store. So if you guys check out Travis's podcast, I mean, I think he gives
Smallmouth Crush.
Yeah, Smallmouth Crush. He gives you a discount for anything in the reel shot. I was thinking of that. I should probably do that, eh? I'm here, you know. Mm-hmm. So,
what kind of discount can you give it away?
Yeah, that's
true. The best discount you can get, free, right?
Yeah, right.
You know, just like I got a boat sticker here for the carpet, so we're waiting for somebody to chime in, and we'll see who's interested in this, and I'm going to give that away as well. I got some stickers to go with some of the other packs and everything. I appreciate all the publicity and all the help that people are giving me, and that was Kyle Carpenter over there. Hey, Kyle, how's it going? another great guy who's supported me and helped me out quite a bit as my company's grown.
Kyle had some interesting questions for you too. We'll get to them in a little bit as well.
Okay.
Kind of towards the end, I'm saving some questions for you.
It better not be loaded.
I don't think so. There's one that's I know really good. Andrew says he's from Florida. Dan's tubes are awesome. Hypercross work awesome for largies down in Florida, he says.
Awesome.
So let's get into the craws and stuff. We talked some tubes. We talked some hook sizes of tubes. I know you got both your craws here as well.
Yep.
So I'll bust this one open. This is my favorite by far. So
it's incredible how your jig game has changed since you started using that. I know a lot of the club tournaments you've done real well with it.
Yeah, so I probably learned how to skip tube just because of these. Like,
really?
Yeah, changed how the jig actually flows on the top of the water.
And that's the hypercraw right there.
Compared to the floating craw. A little bit different.
Different action, different style, different circumstances. This works really good on a swim jig as well as on a flipping jig.
Right. So, this thing, so there's a lot of different applications for this, and I'll let you touch on that too, but I've used this on Ned rigs. I've used it on shaky heads. I've used it on football heads. I've obviously once you rip the back of this off, there's a rib section and then it goes to the body. What I do a lot of times, I'll rip this in half and then you're left with just the body there. It's like I said, super durable. The claws stay on there, but the profile of it, because it's got a flat belly, it skips on jigs so well. Like it seems like you can get further back underneath docks and stuff like that with this specific bait, as well as when this thing hits the bottom, those claws stand straight up, and I think you're definitely getting extra bites. Yep. as far as I'm concerned. I can't tell you how many times I've gone behind people with this specific bait on just an Arky style 3/8 ounce jig and fire underneath a dock where I don't think they were able to get to because they're maybe either using the wrong jig head or a bulkier plastic and weren't able to get it as far back in there. Or if it's just that the presentation of this was something that they hadn't seen yet, and with that floating presentation, they just decided to eat it. So that one's my favorite, but then the hypercraw, touch a little bit about on this one as far as that goes, and the claw shape in general.
It's a lot more subtle. It's a lot like my hypertail grub.
Speaking of that,
I'm still trying to get a mold made. I'm having such a tough time. You got so many people that are trying to jump into this industry and get stuff made that a lot of the mold makers are busy and the prices are up. It's just been murder for me on that. I do have some colors still in stock right now, but I'm still waiting to get the new mold. I had a mold made last year, and they made it wrong. They made it too big, so now I've got a musky hypertail that I've poured some, and I've given them to my musky buddies, and they've caught some real nice fish on it.
Okay.
Because it's a little bit different,
Sure.
And it's pretty cool, but I'm still trying to get that straightened out, and that's the hardest part.
That was Casey's question, by the way.
What's that?
The hypertail grub. When is it coming back?
Yeah, well, I've got some colors, and Casey's a good buddy of mine, so Casey can get a hold of me, and I'll help him out. That's not a problem, But
I know he's working right now. There could be all over this.
This little subtlety, the way it swims, the action, it's totally different than the big flap. It don't displace as much water.
Yep.
And it's kind of like a little scuttling crayfish, That's maybe a young one that doesn't have the claws up quite as much. So when a bass sees that the claws ain't there, they know they're not going to get hurt as bad when they eat it too, I think. So
Casey just chimed in.
They inhale it. They inhale it. And, that's the reason I came. I wanted a different presentation for my jigs that gave a different action than the normal action that everybody's using, And there's a lot of good craws out there, that. Yep. Strike King's got a great one. They got that flapper, the way they've got it, there's quite a few different ones on the market, but that's why I came up with this and the subtlety and the difference. And then it's pouring in my plastic. So I think that's a big key too.
Right, and that's obviously going to be the difference. Not only the profile of the bait is a little bit different with the different appendages and the different claws on there, but the action that it gives off because of your formula of plastic.
Yeah, definitely. There we go.
Yeah,
it's hard to. Sorry, everybody. I'm trying to adapt here and get it in for the camera.
Right. So if you want to hold that vertically, just to kind of show the different profile of the claws, I think that was the other thing there. So you can see the claws are a little bit narrower. And then on the ends of the claws, they actually have a little paddle that allows them to kick subtly. A very slow action.
Well, and you sit it on the bottom, you can look at the appendages right now and see how they're moving.
Yeah.
That's the action you get when you got it on the bottom, too. You know, that's why these are designed the way they are, and with the plastic and everything, it kind of floats. It makes a huge difference.
Now, if somebody was going to rig that up, what were some options as far as rigging that up?
I love using a Dirty Jigs swinging football head.
Okay.
It works. You can get it to any depth or whatever. I've caught some pretty big smallies on it that way. I love flipping it on a flipping jig. You know, and I not to keep saying dirty jigs, but I love Kurt. Kurt's got a great product. I've watched him grow from this little guy to this monstrous company, but he continues to keep the quality and the great colors and baits, and he'll actually make the colors I want for myself. So I really like that. Yeah, I got special colors that I like to fish. It's confidence, you know. Right. I think that's more than anything. Everybody always asks me, what color's working here, what color's working there. The biggest thing is to get confidence in the color you're throwing. The confidence in itself helps you catch more fish.
Right.
I've seen it happen. You know, guys that are fishing against me or fishing with me or whatever, and they're using this color and I'm using this color, and we're doing the same quality of fish and the same amount of fish, the same bites, all that stuff.
On different colors.
Sure. And it's because he's got more confidence in that color. I've got more confidence in this color. Or it could be the substrate that you're fishing. Are you fishing like darker rocks? Are you fishing light sand? You know, because a lot of that's got to do with it too. You know, the different conditions, the different lakes. You want to try to match what those forage look like in each lake and blend in. You know, when you put a sand color like that amber red on sand, I mean, it blends right in, so those fish can barely see it. It looks like a natural bait there.
Right.
Because that's what, you know, let's face it, that's what minnows and crabs and stuff like that do. They try to blend into their surroundings, chameleon in, so they don't get eaten. Otherwise, they stick out like a sore thumb.
Right.
You know, and that's where the whole color system and everything that I came up with and why I came up with it is because, you know, each color has a certain circumstance that it works.
Oh, for sure. Let's see what else. Josh wants the carpet decal. There you go. Josh is getting a carpet decal. He's the first one.
There you go, Josh. You got it.
There we go.
Josh, who's that? Who's Josh?
Josh Narrett.
Josh Narrett, awesome.
Yep. Brian says been throwing these for about 3 years now up in Mille Lacs. Dan hooked me up, told me what to use and told him how to use it. It's a complete game changer up in that area.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that compliment.
What else we got? Tavis going to Gunnersville. Needs some craws. GetBitBaits.com.
I actually qualified for my national championship at Gunnersville. Guess what I was throwing?
The Bitsy tube, or
the 2 3/4 original tube.
Really?
You know why? Because everybody's throwing swim baits, chatter baits, all those moving baits. The fish, I watched my partners, they started hitting their baits and they wouldn't hook up. So I switched to that 2 3/4 tube. Molten craw is hot on Gunnersville. Make sure you got some. They're going to swallow it down. It's that green pumpkin. I'm serious. Molten craw, I was catching them behind my boaters. They were swallowing it. I ended up running out of tubes because I'd cut the line and I'd put them in the live well. Normally those fish would spit that bait back up. They swallowed it. They weren't letting it go. It's like, come on, guys, give me the stuff back, you know. But I didn't anticipate when I went down there for that tournament,
sure,
to have that because I was a non-boater for that tournament. I actually qualified for the national championship as a non-boater.
We're now going to need some more molten cross tubes, Dan. TheRealShot.com. Pick up anything. I think we got them all in stock currently right now. I know we're going to have a huge order going over to you. I think Justin's probably working on that right now as we're talking because I kind of warned him you were coming. So
okay.
You know, Kyle asked, "What's the best color on the bay?"
I'll say it. I know Kyle's favorite color is steely.
No. This is Kyle Weston.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Kyle Carpenter. Because Kyle Carpenter's favorite color is steely, and that's all I'm going to leave it at because I'm not going to tell anybody what Kyle likes to fish.
Well, now we're going to have
to. So you got to figure out which color is steely. I don't know. I don't think I showed it to him or nothing. I don't know why he's flattered me so much as saying that's my color, but it's a color. I know Travis likes that color a lot too. But last year in the fall, green pumpkin purple was my favorite color on the bay.
Oh, that's a new one for you, right?
That's a new one. It's still not on the website.
Okay.
You guys got it in the store here.
We do have it at The Real Shot. It should be on the website, therealshot.com. Green pumpkin.
Green pumpkin purple. It's a real good color. Green pumpkin copper is another one of my favorites on the bay, and then leech.
Leech is hard to beat anywhere. It doesn't matter where you go.
Well, yeah, it's a shadow color. You know, it represents anything that's in a shadow, anything that's that darker color. And the biggest thing is it's a color that nobody else has on the market. You know,
it's a unique one.
When I came up with that, a friend of mine who was a taxidermist seen I was starting to make baits, and he's like, "Wow, that's interesting." You know, there's a color called Payne's Gray that I use for every fish that I do. Northern, musky, walleye, whitefish. Smallmouth. I have to use this color in every one. I'm like, really? He goes, show it to me. He shows it to me, and it looked just like the underbelly of a leech, that lighter gray.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow. You know, so I made a batch and called it leech because of the underbelly or whatever, and started catching fish on it. And it's like, ooh, this is a hot color. And I mean, you could go anywhere in Wisconsin and catch fish with it. It's incredible. And Mille Lacs and, Minnesota over on Erie as well. I did real well there. In fact, I believe with the one TBF national or divisional I was over there, I won big bass of the whole divisional. I caught it on that leech tube.
Nice.
So, and that's one of the reasons why I think I don't do as well, because I have a hard time throwing anything else. I won't pick up a crankbait. I don't like picking up a jerk bait. I like fishing my tubes and my plastics.
Right.
I've got a lot of confidence in them. When they're not biting that, I suck. Plain and simple. I'm not smart enough to change because of my confidence, and that's part of the game. It definitely is.
So we touched on this a little bit. So 14 fish over 7 pounds. You said that 12 of those, plus your 8-pounder, came on your tubes.
Yes.
You said 2 of them came on. I'm assuming it was a Duo Realis.
Duo Realis spy bait. Yeah. David Schwendeis hooked me up. Vince Heicher, one of my pro staffers, hooked me up with Dave, and Dave hooked me up, and it was incredible. That fall I caught 2 7-pound plus inland fish on inland lakes up in the UP. It was incredible. It was a totally new technique, and it was a lot like when I first started bass fishing, I would throw that countdown Rapala.
Yep.
It was kind of the same thing where you counted it down, but it's a little bit more of a subtle bite to it, and when you got pressured fish, it helps. It really helps. I know one of the TBF qualifiers on Big Green, I was fishing it, and somebody got right up on top of the hump, and I was out in the 20 feet of water out away from the hump. The hump was at 8 foot, and I knew right away with the guy stationed on top of the hump like that all the big fish that were on that hump went out and suspended at that 8-foot depth. So I pulled up with my my spy bait and just absolutely hammered him.
Wow.
Just hammered him. I think I was fishing with Art Sukawati. I ended up taking second, and then Art took 5th overall.
Sure.
But I think I caught probably close to 80 or 90 fish that day on Big Green in the tournament. And there was actually 3 other tournaments going on, so there was probably 150 tournament boats out there.
Wow.
I was going behind people and just creaming them. But that was the big reason, was because those fish were suspended, and I knew they were there. I went to a lighter weight with my tube, and I went with that spy bait, and it was a 1-2 combination.
Let's see. Another guy says, I'll be getting amber, red, and molten 2 3/4 inch tubes for Gunnersville now. Thanks. Yep. Yeah. That's
send me some pictures. That's all I ask. Please send me some pictures when you catch them.
There you go. That was actually my dad that said he's going to have to get some. You see that 11-pounder he caught?
Yeah. Unbelievable. Your dad's been a great customer. It kind of irritates me. Instead of having you get him for him so he gets a discount, he orders right off the website, which I appreciate, Tyson. I really appreciate it. That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, it's probably because I slacked on getting him some baits. So he's like, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to cut out the middleman. I'm just going to order him directly from Dan.
There you go.
Yep. Brian said, let's talk about another confidence bait, the 4-inch drop shot. Now, I don't see any of them on the table here, but
I didn't bring the drop shot worm. Everybody's fishing the Berkeley flatworm and all this other bull crap. It's all copied off my 4-inch drop shot worm.
Sure.
Basically JVD won Green Bay with my 4-inch drop shot, called it the Strike King prototype. And Since then, there's been all kinds of companies that have copied it. There again, that worm, my buddy Jim, who started making it in 1962, was retiring. So I took the horn from him. I carried the torch and started selling and making some of his products that way.
Sure.
And, once I started using that 4-inch drop shot worm, it was like lights out. That's one of the only baits I like. I like my pintail too, but that 4-inch drop shot worm is phenomenal.
So that was one of the questions that I actually had saved for later. Literally on my notepad here, JVD 2012, what was he using?
He's using the 4-inch drop shot worm.
Get Bit Baits.
Yep, green pumpkin, purple, and gold. He caught almost all his fish just north of Shador's dock.
Dropping the spots too on him.
Oh yeah, I don't care less. I know exactly where everybody was. What the funny thing was I went out there after the tournament. Nobody would take. I obviously at a certain point they couldn't take any information. But I had a couple pros I was working with. I wanted them to get some of my waypoints. They never took my waypoints. I went out on one of my spots out there, and I hammered a couple 5-pounders that would have made a huge difference.
Oh sure.
Polinick was actually real close by. I think he had a good day out there, real close to some of the offshore humps that I was fishing at that time.
Eric Eichmanelli commented. He said, "Dream shot," if I remember correctly. When I said JVD 2012, what was he using? That was his answer. So
no, it wasn't. It was a Get Bit Baits 4-inch drop shot worm. Green pumpkin, purple, and gold. That's why they called it the prototype.
Sure.
It's just like recently this year, they called this new jig a prototype. Basically what that is the big companies are stealing a little guy that actually had a good idea as bait or whatever and calling it a prototype so they can put it in their assortment. Sure. But what do? A guy like me, I ain't got multi-million dollars to back a patent on any of this stuff. I never put a patent on my crawling tube, but hey, go and copy it. Let's see you do it right, because I guarantee that there's not anybody out there that's going to be able to copy it right. There's a certain way that you got to do everything to make it work.
Right.
And it's like anything. I guess that's flattery from what Gary Yamamoto told me the one time I talked to him. He goes, "Well, people are copying you. That's flattery." Well, if you're a billionaire, yeah, that's flattery. If you're a guy like me that's trying to make a living a little bit, it's not quite so much flattery. It's
right.
kind of irritating at points, but at the same time, you got to let it go and not worry about it.
Vince commented.
What's that?
Vince Heitry commented, "Oh my God, it's Dan. He's so gorgeous." I'm assuming he's talking about your hair right now.
Thank you, Vince. Thanks.
Gosh.
Oh, Vince is awesome. We've been doing that smallmouth camp now for a few years, and
yep.
Vinny's one of my main pro staffers that comes up. And Ben Schneider, Alex Slovis is another one. He's the head of my pro staff.
Alex has been on here.
Jake Resch. These guys are awesome, and they're doing it because they love my product.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that means a lot to me. It means a whole lot. That's why I continue to put this smallmouth camp out every fall. In fact, we're going to be looking for pro staff this year. Not many Wisconsin guys, because we've got probably too many Wisconsin guys. Right. I don't know how they're going to do this. I don't do any of that because I don't want friends or anybody else saying, "Hey, give me a deal, give me
right.
But so I have other people take care of that. But
so you're talking if you're a good fisherman and stuff like that and know how to promote products and stuff, you're from outside of Wisconsin. Send a message, Give It Baits. I know you and a couple of the other guys kind of manage that page and stuff like that. So it'll get to the right person. If you're interested in representing Get Bit Baits. Alex just chimed in again. And they do it, not really to help you out or because they believe in the baits, but because you're so gorgeous, as Vince said it. So.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
I take that as a compliment if it was his girlfriend saying that, but no, I'm kidding.
Oh, God.
Well, we have a lot of fun. It's, and that's what it's about. It's about having fun. Ben and Vince, were fishing the Sturgeon Bay Open with me and Alex, and we kind of teamed up as 4 different guys and helping each other out and trying to see each other do good because we want to see each other do good.
Right.
I don't mind when they beat me. That's awesome. I mean, it's part of fishing. You're not going to always dominate. I've yet to win a state tournament. I've made 13 state teams. Think about that. 13 state teams, 10 of them as a boater, 3 of them as a non-boater. I still have not ever won a state tournament. My best finish is second. Sure. And my best finish was as a non-boater on the bay.
On the bay.
On the bay. But my boaters didn't know where to go, so I took them where to go, and it helped quite a bit. No,
that makes sense.
I remember the one tournament that I qualified for. I was actually down in the divisional for TBF down in Illinois on one of the lakes down there. And it was a real stinker. I think I caught one fish. I ended up taking 5th overall, but I caught one fish in 3 days.
What?
The water temperature was 80-some degrees. It was tough fishing. It was really tough fishing. Well, during the week, I was staying with Adam Buss, and Kyle Carpenter called me up. He said, we need a non-boater for state on the bay. Can you do it? I'm like, I don't know, Kyle. By the time we get there, I mean, it'll be like 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning. I don't know. He goes, well, Adam says, I'm going to do it. Just come with me, because I was riding with Adam, And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I said, okay, I'll take it. I got out there, and the guy I got paired with took me into a spot out there, community hole. I caught 17 fish and 17 casts with my leech tube, and it was the catalyst that took me to Gunnersville that made it to the national championship. So I mean, I wasn't even really supposed to fish that; it just happened, you know. Was it a coincidence that the national championship was the same day that I shot myself in the heart 6 years earlier? I don't think so. I think it was, something that was meant to happen for me. And it was pretty cool that Kyle called me up and had me fill in as that non-boater spot. It would have never got to that point. So I'm very thankful that Kyle and I are good friends. He's a great guy, runs a great circuit. He's by far the best tournament director that we've ever had in Wisconsin. No, hands down, not even a comparison. Roy Bragg was fantastic, but he didn't get the opportunity. I only got to I think 1 or 2 of them that he ran that I got to go to. So unfortunately, he retired earlier and stopped doing it. But he was the one that was probably the inspirer of me. I made my first state team my rookie year. I told everybody I was going to do it. Everybody got mad at me in my club and everything. You're so cocky, whatever. It was on the bay. I knew I was going to make it.
Sure.
I knew for a fact. In fact, the guy who won the tournament won it out of the back of my boat. And he won it because I had a fish jump over my top water, and he had his line in his hand, and I go, cast over there. He casts over there and catches a 5.86. It's like, boom, well, at the end of it, at 11 o'clock, that's when we could cross. I was over in Peshtigo, fishing the Peshtigo River. Sure. And he goes to me, first we were there, and I probably caught 17 to 20 fish that day. Had a good bag. He had 3 fish at 11 o'clock, but he had that big kicker in there, and I'm like, you got to get your limit. You got a chance of winning this. I just got nice fish. I'll do good, but you got to, whatever. So I cut my spinnerbait off and gave it to him. And the same tree I'd caught a lot of 3-pounders out of, probably 5 or 6 of them, he caught a 4 and a 3.5 out of that tree with that same spinnerbait I bit off. Well, we're on our way back, and we stopped at Peshtigo Point because he wanted to take a picture. And he looks at me, he goes, I feel like I was on an inspirational journey with the Lord. He goes, I can't believe this, And
sure,
I had said the whole year that this was, supposed to be for me, but it wasn't. It was actually for him. He actually went to Iraq the year after our not national champions, but the year after the divisional. He went to Iraq and was stationed there for 13 years and never got to fish.
Wow.
So he won out of the back of my boat, qualified for his only state team, and got all that stuff. His name is Paul Shenup. Great guy. Now he's a retired Army sergeant. But it was a pretty cool deal, and that's
that's awesome.
That's why I love the Federation so much. You never know who you're going to be paired with, what's going to happen. You meet so many great people. I've got countless people I call friends that are in the Federation and Nation, because now they switched it. It used to be the Federation, and then they split, and TBF took the Nation or the Federation, and now Bass is the Nation.
Yep.
But it's a great deal. So if you like fishing tournaments and stuff, and you want the camaraderie, join a club, get involved in them, BASS or TBF, and you can go a long ways with it.
Oh yeah, you learn a lot.
Definitely. I've learned a lot. I've had some great boaters. As a non-boater, I like going sometimes to learn a little bit that way. And sure. I've had some fantastic non-boaters too that have showed me up and showed me some good stuff too.
Speaking about Peshtigo, Casey said something a couple years ago about a 12-pounder that you lost.
It was 10 pounds.
Giant.
I swear to God, it was a giant smallmouth. It was the biggest smallmouth I've ever had in my life. I ran from O'Connell. We were getting ready to fish our club for Tri-City Bassmasters, and I was pre-fishing because you're laughing at me. It's not tournament day. I go, oh, I'm going to go fishing anyway then. So I went pre-fishing. And
I was working, so I was jealous anyways.
yeah, I caught some fish out in front of the river, and then I ran up the river and checked out some stuff like that, and I came back out. And when I came back out, there were a bunch of fish schooling and busting or whatever. So I grabbed my rod real quick, and I threw out there right in the middle of the school, and they had just busted up. And it got to the bottom, and no sooner than it got to the bottom, my line just, boom. I mean, it tightened up. It was maybe 20 feet from me. I'm not very far away. I'm fighting and I'm fighting and I'm fighting it, not thinking no big deal of it. It could be a walleye, it could be a catfish, could be a bass, you don't know. Getting it close, it gets right next to the boat and opens its mouth and spits the frickin' tube right in front of me. And I look at the fish, and I still have nightmares to this day about it. It was definitely 10 pounds. This fish was 23, 24 inches long, but it was like this deep.
Sure.
It was the biggest smallmouth I have ever seen in my life. And I've seen some big ones. I've seen some swimming around like that though too. So they're out there. It's just a matter of getting connected with them. I seen that 863 that was caught the one year. I seen the 883 that was caught by the other guy. We were real close to where they were fishing. The bay's got some incredible fish, and that state record is out there. It's just a matter of one of us getting lucky enough to catch it.
Right.
And I think that it was a perfect storm. That's the reason why that fish bit, because all them smaller fish were feeding on the bait fish and killing them, and they were falling to the bottom, and that big, fat, lazy fish was sitting down underneath there. And as soon as it seen something drop down, it became unaware, it lost its guard, and it ate it.
Sure.
Unfortunately, but I've noticed, I don't know if a lot of other people have noticed it, but when a smallmouth grabs a tube like that, he crushes it, okay? He thinks it's a crayfish. He crushes it in that crusher in their mouth there. And even when you set the hook hard, sometimes you can't even move that hook inside that mouth. As soon as it opens its mouth, because of the pressure you got, that hook.
So you're saying the hook never penetrates the fish's mouth. You're saying that fish is holding onto it in its crushers, and they're so powerful that they're literally just grasping that.
Yep.
So that way, they're
trying to kill it.
Right.
They're pinching it in its thing and trying to kill it. So when you do get it to the point where it opens its mouth, if that hook don't slide in somewhere or hit somewhere,
they open their mouth right at you.
And I know everybody's seen it happen.
Oh, yeah.
It's no doubt. And that's what the power is incredible. I remember one of the NEW tournaments we were fishing, the guys were showing how even with braid, you can't pull a jig out of a guy's hands. If he's holding it like that and holding the hook, you can set the hook as hard as you can. You're not moving that hook. And that's, the fish are the same way. They got that tough crusher right there in the middle of their mouth. And whenever they think it's a crayfish, I'm convinced that they're trying to crush it and kill it. Sure. Before they swallow it.
No, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. What was the other one? Do you think it would be an upgrade if you added coffee sent to your tubes?
Hell no. Okay, everybody, here's the deal. Don't fall for the bullshit. Pardon my French, but the scent, smallies do not feed on scent. It is one of their third or fourth primary things that they use to feed on. Sight is number one. They are a huge sight fisherman. The lateral line, feeling that movement, is another one that they like to use. But they do not. Scent is sometimes will come into handy, but the whole thing with the baits, especially the plastic, it adheres to any scent you want to adhere to. So if you want a garlic, one of my tubes, all you have to do is buy garlic salt, put it in the bag, salt them with the garlic salt. It'll adhere to the bait, and you have a garlic bait. I've done it with the real craw when they're really feeding on crawfish real well. I'll put real craw on my tubes, and I'll leave them soaking there for my tournaments and fish them like that. And it's the same thing with coffee. You want to put coffee in there, you go ahead and put it in coffee. It's not going to matter because it don't make a difference. It's just another gimmick that people are trying to do. Here, I'll put it this way.
This is my favorite topic.
Get bit baits are formulated to be an economical, durable, and realistic plastic to mimic the prey of all fish species. So don't fall for the gimmicks. Get bit baits and get bit more often.
There you go. Right on the bag. Right on the bag.
Right on the bag. I came up with that the first year I did it because this is why I did it. This is one of the big reasons I did it. I was using coffee can style tubes.
Sure.
One of the first that gets it. It feels like coffee can plastic. It was very effective. I've cashed some checks. I've caught a lot of fish on them. But the plastic is not right. The formula is not right. If you like fishing that stiff stuff and you think it's great, I mean, go ahead. But the difference between that and living plastic that moves on the bottom, that is supple like that, it's...
Can't beat it.
You can't beat it. You can't. I've gotten my butt kicked quite a few times from people that are using my baits. You know, you beat me in head-to-head. So...
I mean... I wasn't gonna really bring it up because you did. It was pretty nice to beat you on your own bait.
Yeah.
However, probably wouldn't happen if you didn't tell me the color that you were catching them on.
That's what friends are for.
Right.
When it all said and done, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. You're going to get your bites. You're going to get what's going to happen.
Right.
You got to pay attention to each bite you get. I didn't execute. I broke off 2 fish. I think both those fish were probably 6.5 to 7 pounds. I would have been real close to you. I didn't land them. That's part of the fishing. That's part of doing it. You know, you gotta execute. You gotta pay attention. You're gonna get your bites if you pay attention and do it. But you gotta execute on all them bites.
Yeah, that is true. And you can't mess around with the big fish like that.
No. I was trying to fish braid. You know, a lot of you guys are getting me to go with the braid with the fluorocarbon leader, and I'm not quite as good as you guys are yet at fighting those fish. I'm still learning on it. You know, I'm a basic mono guy. People laugh at me. I love fishing monofilament. Trilene XL is my favorite lure. I've got 3 world line class records with Trilene, you know, with my fly rod. One's a smallmouth, one's a walleye, and one's a steelhead.
Sure.
You know, all caught on my fly rod. But, you know, I actually held, I think, 14 or 15 world records at one time at the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame here in Wisconsin.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, and I was fishing year round. You know, like I said, the one year, 340 some days I fished. You know, I was guiding. That's all I was doing. It was pretty awesome. But then I had to get adult-like and get a real job and quit guiding altogether because I didn't like some of the clients that I got out that turned me the wrong way. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, this ain't for me as much as I thought it was.
Sure.
You know, when it becomes a job, it's not as fun.
Right.
You know,
just like anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. When you have to do it.
Yeah. And you have a hard time getting up in the morning, you know.
Right.
I mean, being a guide is tough because you're constantly, you got to either be out there pre-fishing, finding the fish, or you got to be out there with the clients, you know.
Yep.
Then you get people that don't know how to use equipment, or they break your equipment, or, you know, they keep questioning you. You know, there's so many different things that, I mean, and some people are made for it and some people aren't.
Right. It looks like they're having a conversation about what's better as far as coffee flavors now in the comment section. 100% Colombian black coffee works better than the regular blend, Casey says. Scott Cormier replied he's partial to French press.
Fun stuff.
Right.
Fun stuff.
Now, and this is what I meant. Like, so a lot of guys, if you're watching this that don't know, like, it's pretty good following in Wisconsin. That's why the pro staff is pretty much full in Wisconsin and stuff like that. So from outside looking in at some of the jokes and stuff that we've got and some of the questions and whatnot, it's you know, because we personally know Dan and have for a very long time.
They like to give me a hard time.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Which I much appreciate. You know, Scott Cormier is an awesome guy. Me and him actually met steelhead fishing way back on the Menominee River.
Really?
Way back before I was even a bass fisherman. He was talking about how awesome bass fishing was and tournaments was. And I'm like, whatever, I don't want to hear that crap, you know. And then I got into it, and then he came up to me after I got into it and he says, see? I'm like, yeah, you were right. You were right.
Good time.
It's awesome. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I've got another one. These two are a little more interesting. Okay, so you had mentioned that you got shot. You shot yourself in the chest with a nail gun.
Correct.
Can you just elaborate on that just a little bit?
Okay, I run a construction company as well. I've been doing construction for 32 years, building custom homes. I was putting a set of stairs in, and I had a bump trigger, which means you press the trigger and you put it against an object and it shoots.
Yep.
And I was putting a set of stairs in. Well, the gun was above my head, and I was getting ready to put the middle set of stair in, and the gun fell. And as the gun came at me, I grabbed it to catch it. And because of the weight and everything, it kept coming down, but I caught the trigger, and when I came down, I had the trigger pressed, and it, boom, hit my chest. And thank goodness I had suspenders on at the time, because it caught the edge of my suspenders and went in and stopped about a 1/4 inch away from my heart. So I take off my my suspenders, and my lung starts to collapse and fill up with blood automatically. So I was in intensive care for 3 days. The good Lord spared me. I'm very lucky that I made it through there, but it was quite the traumatic experience.
That would be.
But it's like anything. If you do something long enough in your life, something's bound to happen.
Sure.
It's like driving a car. You're eventually going to get in an accident no matter how careful a driver you are. So it was pretty scary experience, though.
That would be. That would be.
But then the funny thing is the day that it happened was the same first day of the first national championship I ever made down on Lake Conroe, Texas.
Right, and that's what you said before is coincidence? I think not, right?
Yeah, it was not a coincidence, They did an awesome story about it, the determination of Daniel. You can actually dig it up on our website. I had a fantastic writer write it. The guy that wrote the same article about Brett Favre and his dad when he died. I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now, but fantastic writer, does a great job for Bass. And it was an incredible experience. It really was. And for it to all happen the way it did, it was definitely meant to happen. Because a lot of people that know me know that was my main goal in the federation or in the nation is to make a national championship.
Right.
I would have loved to have made it to the Bassmaster Classic. I ended up 15th in the world that year. I ended up taking 15th in the tournament. But, I wanted to make one of those national championships one time to see like Brian Kirchhoff, one of my heroes, who actually got me interested in starting to bass fish. Because I watched him win his first classic and all that, and I'm getting goosebumps just talking about
right?
it. But it really inspired me, him being a nation. I tried finding out what's a nation, what's the federation mean, all that stuff. And, eventually got into it, got my own boat. And like I said, I made my first state team in 2003, my rookie year of making or being in a club. So it was pretty cool, But it's like football too, You get to the championship game, think you're going to get to that Super Bowl. You get there the first time, and you're like, all right,
right.
It's not that
easy every time.
Oh, there's so many great anglers, and you younger guys that are coming up right now are just incredible. You got so much information out there. You got the graphs and the things that make it so much easier. Now you got Live Scope where you can know whether you're fishing a live fish or not.
Right.
That's cheating. That's cheating. That's why I got to come up with a lure that'll swim into a fish's mouth. That'll be my next one.
Joe Stadola says he was a non-boater with you for Shano. Said you hit a duck on the way to the Wisconsin state tournament. It was still in your grill when you arrived there.
Yep, grilled duck. It was a female mallard. Yeah, she was stuck in my grill. I pull up and then someone's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I come out, wow, I didn't even. I knew I had ran, or I thought it had made it away and went underneath, but it flew right out in front of me early in the morning. I mean, what do you do? What do you do? It was still dark. They're not supposed to be flying at that time,
Yeah. Freddie Roman says here in Pennsylvania, all we use is gibbet baits.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Freddie's one heck of an angler. If you check out Freddie Roman and some of his posts and stuff, he's constantly catching monster fish. Great guy, another guy on the pro staff. Me and him first didn't get along real well because you know how I can be. I'm kind of crass. I can be a jackass. I understand that. But, he's seen past that, and now I'm privileged to work with him. He's a great guy. Sure. Great guy. And I know a lot of people in Pennsylvania that do real well with my baits, the Susquehanna and on the Erie and all that stuff. Buffalo. Guys over in Ohio are doing real well. Michigan are doing real well. Minnesota. Actually, on the West Coast, guys are really starting to hammer them good. I got guys from Idaho and Montana and fishing the Columbia River. That's where this tiny tube comes in handy. A lot of the river fishermen like using that smaller tube like that because they'll catch trout and bass with it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I don't know if we did a side-by-side comparison of these, actually, now that I think about it. I'm just going to hang these in my hand here and see if we can show these off. So you do make the bigger ones, obviously. You do make the 4.
Yep, this is a 4-inch right here, and then I actually got a 5 1/4 inch I do for flipping.
Oh yeah, that big one. I think we carry that one too. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but the size differences of the tubes right there. So obviously, kind of at the end of my hand here, this is that small tube, that tiny tube right there, 2.5 inches, and then you have your 2 3/4 double dipped. So obviously much wider. This is the one I use more than anything else. Personally, and we'll touch on colors a little bit too, like recommendations. I always like to leave people with 3 recommendations as far as baits go and stuff like that. And then obviously the 3.5 finesse. In practice for head-to-head, I was throwing that just because you gave me a tip about the perch. A lot of the perch are about that size that a lot of the smallmouth seem to be feeding on.
And they're skinny like that.
Yeah, and they are. They're very thin and skinny. So
it's a profile. You know, if the fish sees the right profile, sees the right color combination and glint,
they eat it.
They eat it. They got no choice. What are they going to do? If they don't eat it, it's gone.
Yeah,
you know, it loses an opportunity. So it's pretty huge.
Yeah,
so that's why these here look like bluegill. You know, a lot of the guys that use the green pumpkin, purple, and gold and flip those 2 3/4 for them for largemouth, because they look like the young of the year bluegill that come out, you know. And that's when I started this, I said like that's the main reason I did it, is to follow the profile, to match the hatch. And the other big thing is metabolism. You know, a lot of people don't talk about it. Nobody's really wrote any articles or anything about it, so this will be copied next. Metabolism is huge when it comes to bass fishing.
Sure.
It's like me or you going out to eat for dinner. Okay, you know, you're going out for steak and lobster. You know, our dinners are bought. You know, we don't want to hurt our dinner. But hey, there's some peanuts there. They're quick, they're easy, they digest real quick. Boom. You know, a bass is a perfect example now. Cold water, a bass has a hard time digesting food. So if it eats a big bait, it's got a funny feeling in its stomach. It's sitting there and it don't digest. Where these little baits, if it thinks it's a little fish, a little crawfish, whatever, they get that in their system. It digests quick. They get a quick protein and energy from it, and it's back out. You know, where those bigger baits are sitting there and just holding. Now, in the summertime or certain where the water temperature is perfect, they want to not work as hard for those small baits. They want a big bait because they can eat it, it digests quick, and then, you know, it's a lot easier to catch.
No, then that makes perfect sense. They're opportunistic feeders, and if they see something small and easy to eat, they eat it.
Yep, exactly.
So, and that obviously everything's.
It's not going to hurt their dinner if they eat that little snack.
Right. True.
You know, and
Very
it's huge. You know, it digests it. Even them eating it, it makes it easier for them in their mouth. You know, I know you've seen pictures of fish choking themselves to death by eating something too big.
Right.
You know, those are usually at the key times where the water temperatures are perfect and they're most optimal. They're at their highest metabolism. They got their biggest digestive rate. All that stuff is going on with those fish, you know. So
the other thing I know we talked about and touched on before is big fish eat this one too.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
This little tiny tube. How many of your 7-pounders or 8-pounder did you catch on the small one?
I think it was 4.
4 of the 14 7-pounders came on the tiny tube.
The tiny tube, yeah.
So not only do big fish eat bigger baits, but downsizing is all in the spring or all in the fall or kind of spread out through the year?
Spread out through the year.
Nice.
There's no rhyme or reason to it. It don't seem like.
Sure.
But I'd say 60% of my fishing in the fall. I love fishing the fall more than in the spring. The spring, anybody can run into the pot of fish. You can't really, you know, it's not really working at the fish. Once you get into that summer and fall pattern, then you can continually go to the same spots and catch those same fish and pattern them and know where they're hanging. Where in the spring, if that warm water pocket moves or the cold water moves in, they're gone.
Right.
You know, and water temperature is huge in the spring. And they got one thing that they want to do back in the spring. You know that. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what they got.
Yeah, they're not focused on eating, that's for sure.
No, they want to eat something and then go to their beds.
Right.
You know.
Right. Let's see. What else? What else you got? You've also got a Ned bait. Mm-hmm. The pintail.
Pintail, yep.
Yep.
And before Ned, they should call it the Dan bait. You know, I honestly think because the Ned rig came out the year after I did the article with Bass, and I had 3 different writers come out, and one of them was from Bass, Louis Stout, and he did an article, and I gave him all a sample of all my baits and what I was throwing, and I had that pintail before the Ned rig ever was even heard. Nobody knew what Ned was.
Sure.
You know, so you know, it's something that I did that I knew would be effective, and did it for a certain reason. Because, like in the spring especially, you get a lot of those little small bait fish, and I know you've seen them where they're skipping all over. You throw up in there, and they're like little pintail minnows.
Yep.
You know, that's why I called those things pintails, and I made them. I made them more for drop shotting than I did for Ned rigging, but I'd put them on a football head or I'd put them on a mushroom head. If I would have known it was called a Ned rig back then, maybe I'd have done an article about it. Who knows?
Right.
You know, I could be the famous guy too, you know, but I refuse to copy and take things from other people in the industry.
For sure.
You know, everything I've got, I came out with myself. I started doing it. I poured this stuff way before it was popular. Like my 5-inch straight tail worm for shaky head was way before shaky head was popular. My 4-inch worm, it's even before the robo worm. You know, like I said, Jim made that original bait in 1962. You know, and it's kind of funny. Ray Scott actually hooked me up with Jim to get me that bait after I made the one divisional. Ray Scott was the MC for it, and I got to talk to him and meet him, and became real good friends with him and his assistant, and started buying his rod. I loved his ultralight rod that he made for catching big bass on small test, and was fishing 4-pound test on his spinning rods. And I think I went through close to 50 or 60 of them rods over the years because I sold some to friends and stuff like that. But they were very innovative back then when he did it. And yeah, he turned me on to some cool stuff and the tiny stuff. He liked fishing that small stuff even in his own lake, catching those big fish.
Nice.
Yeah. So you learn a lot when someone like Ray Scott talks, you stop and you listen.
Right.
You know, I got nothing but respect. One of the best men that ever, you know, did this industry. Definitely. And he don't get near as much credit as he should.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. What else you got? You got a 5-inch Senko, don't you? Or
yeah.
stickworm, I should
Stickworm, yeah. In fact, a lot of the guys that I've talked to recently say, you don't even need to make a Ned bait. We just take your stickworm, cut it in half, and use that as a Ned. Right. And I'm like, wow, really? That works? That's awesome. You know?
Yeah.
I don't Ned. I Dan.
Just throw a tube, right?
I Dan. I do it Dan's way. You know, I don't even know who this Ned guy is. You know, but it's kind of funny if you really think about it.
I don't know why it's even called that. I don't think it was anybody named that.
What you do?
It was like the actual like rig or whatever for it was Midwest Finesse rig. So I don't know who termed the coin Ned rig, but
it's all in your what do you call it? Advertising.
Oh, for sure.
What's going to sell better? What's going to do, you know?
Right.
You know, I mean, their plastic is pretty awesome, but the problem is you don't hook up as much with their baits because the plastic is so rubbery. When a bass bites down on it, their mouth bounces right back open.
True.
You know, seriously. So, I mean, that's a big part of it. That's why I like my stuff where they're actually biting into it. They feel it and it crushes.
Yep.
You know, it's natural.
No, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Just looking at this, of course, now I get corrected. The guy's name was Ned. Regardless. Okay, so we talked about the nail gun incident. There's one other question that I wanted to get to, and this sounded fun. This is one from Kyle. Mentioned something about wants to hear the story about you falling out of the boat twice at Matonga.
I only fell once.
He said you fell out of the boat.
Okay, and then I fell when I was putting it back on the thing. Yeah, we were fishing a tournament in October in there, and I mean, I was in my orange suit and everything. It was cold.
Yeah, hunting tough. Suit.
Yeah, and I said I'd be one of the ones because I was one of the last ones coming in. I wanted to get the fish out off shore and let them go way out there instead of deeper water, instead of letting them go right on the bank there. So we were going and letting some go, and I went to go and let the fish go, and my feet got caught up in my co-angler's rod, and I fell straight in the water. And it's not funny because I was in 20 feet of water, and I sank down with all these clothes on.
Yep.
And I think Andy Cleveland and Ken Fallish came zooming over to try to make sure that I wasn't going to drown. I came over and I flopped up on my deck like a big hippo, and it was cold. I mean, the water temperature was 48 degrees.
That is cold.
So here I am. I'm getting mad at my co-angler. It was all my fault. I get mad at my co-angler. I'm screaming and yelling and swearing. You know how I get all weird. Get up on shore, and I'm trying to get it up on the bait or up on the trailer, and I slip and I fall again right inside my trailer and on the dock and everything right there, and screw my back up. And it was because I was throwing a temper tantrum like a little child. But I guess it was kind of amusing to those guys.
I would see how that would be amusing.
Well, none of them really laughed until they knew I was okay.
Right.
And then they laughed, and that's fine with me.
Right.
You know, because they were all concerned. They all showed concern and stuff like that. But yeah, I have a tendency to get a little crazy sometimes, a little dramatic.
Yeah, no, that would be that is exciting. That is exciting. we got all sorts of fun stories, club stuff that we can talk about and stuff too. But man, I don't know if a lot of it's appropriate. Yeah, okay. We pretty much touched on everything that I wanted to. For you post a lot of the stuff, pictures that people send you and stuff like that on Give It Baits and then your personal page. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you or contact you or anything like that, or I mean, first thing, if anybody wants to buy some baits, therealshot.com. I believe we're going to be stocking everything after talking with Justin.
And if they don't have it, you can get it at getbitbaits.com.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. At the very least. Vince says he goes Dan sometimes. So I guess there's a term for that too. So instead of calling it the Dan rig, it'd be going Dan, like going Ike. Kind of coining, that. But yeah, anyways, to purchase anything that you saw here today or anything like that, if you want to ask any questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. Eagle Outdoors on Instagram, Tyson Hansen 2 on Facebook, or send the Professional Overrun page a message. I'll get back to you. If I don't have answers for you, I'll send you right over to the manufacturer, the guy that designs the stuff and fishes it and makes it.
We got to figure out about the rest of this giveaway too yet.
Oh, yeah, I was going to go through all that here. But Dan's social media pages, Get Bit Baits on Facebook, Instagram, and he's got some help. The guys help run that. And then your personal pages, Daniel Elsner, I believe. It's
correct.
Full Daniel Elsner. I think, and I got the page tagged up above, I believe, and stuff too, so we should be good there.
Cool.
I just want to check to see if there's any other quick questions. Is there a new bait coming out? Thought I saw a post about that.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
It's going to be like a flipping bait, beaver style.
Okay. I do remember talking about that. It's been a little while.
I just last fall invented a new jig head too for Dan rigging. Instead of Ned. Okay, let's call it Den. Instead of Ned, we'll call it Den. D-E-N.
Combination.
Do it backwards, But it'll definitely be one of the best hookups for Ned rigging. Okay. The bait itself right now, or the hook itself right now, will stand straight up. You can put it on a table. It's straight up in the air. So any kind of floating plastic's automatically going to help it be more buoyant and straight up and whatever. And the way it's proportioned and everything like that is really good. We're going to probably have it in 1/8, 3/16, and 1/4 ounce heads. And I'm gonna do the painting. Go with black and go with green pumpkin and white. I'm thinking possibly, but I'm in the middle of working on that. One of my pro staffers is trying to get. If anybody does know anybody that does molds that I can trust that will do my stuff and not copy it, get a hold of me, PM me, whatever. I'm having a hard time getting a lot of this stuff done. It's
industry.
It's industry and it's trust. I don't trust a lot of people. We've got so many people that'll just they want to take it and run with it and make money on it, and that's not what it's about. Like I said in the beginning, it's about catching fish.
Right.
I want to figure out better ways and more ways for all of us to catch more fish and better fish, and that's why I love, like I said, send me pictures. I love seeing pictures. I love hearing commentary. I love hearing suggestions. Eric from our club suggested a new color tube, and a lot of people got ideas. So get a hold of the people that know what's going on, like me, and I'll see what I can do, and maybe we can make it come to fruition.
Definitely, man. Definitely. So I know some of the questions were off the page here from guys that are close. Let's go back. I'm gonna take a quick look at any of these questions here. Who gets some baits, man? What do you think? I like Joseph's comment about finesse versus the original tubes. I like that one. What does he get? What do you think?
Well, we got to give him a finesse then.
Right?
And we'll give him one of the originals.
There you go.
Both green pumpkin purple.
Nice.
And I will give him a 2/0 1/4 ounce pack.
Perfect.
With a sticker.
There we go. Look at that. These giveaways these are good. They're nice.
There you go.
All right. What else we got here? Let's see.
Anybody ask about flipping?
I missed that one. Snap a tube or drag it?
Both are effective.
Both are effective.
Let the fish tell you what they want. You know,
all
I love
to the fish.
Oh yeah, I love. You know, dragon's a more subtle, slow. I mean, especially dragon's extremely effective when you got high winds and there's big waves. You set out a couple of drift socks, keep that boat at about 0.86 to 0.1. You know, right in that area, and you can drag them real subtly, and you'll catch them real good. And if it's calm out, start snapping it. If you're trying to cover water, figure out where those fish are, and get a location on them, and get a reaction bite out of them.
I like that one. I did miss that one, Rob, a little bit earlier.
So Rob's going to get a pack of the worm, or a pack of the floating craws, and a pack of the 2 3/4.
Nice. Also,
and a sticker.
If anybody wants to know, I don't talk about this color a whole lot, amber red. It's not something that gets advertised a whole lot. Not a lot of people throw this one.
No. Well, a lot of people throw them, but a lot of people don't talk about them.
True.
You'd be surprised.
Man, I see, and that's the thing. I started talking about it. I really don't want to talk about it. You know,
that's like the Great Lakes goby. That's.
Oh yeah, that's another good
Elijah
one.
Song's favorite color.
Sure.
And him and Tao and all them guys, they catch so many big fish with that color. It's incredible. They give me a lot of great pictures too.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely.
There was one about largemouth. Where was that one? Down in Florida. Andrew largemouth from Florida. We got to give him some hypercross. That's what he brought up, man. Hypercross, and give him a pack of those that new color, that flipping tube.
Sounds good.
What else we got? Perfect. Okay. What else we got?
Shoot.
Oh yeah, look at that. We got tubes laying everywhere.
We're gonna keep the hooks right in these packs for him too.
There you go. Pre-rigged, ready to go.
Put that in there for him.
Oh, for sure. That goes there. We'll throw that in there in a second.
And then we got let's see where we're gonna throw this pack of jigs. We're gonna go with him. So then our last one would be a sticker and a flipping pack.
Sticker and a flipping pack. Let's see what we got. Find out one other person. You know what? I don't know, man. There's a lot of good content we brought up here.
I sure appreciate everybody chiming in and putting some questions out and making fun of me.
Let's go with Kyle Weston.
There you
You
go.
know what? He asked another question about colors on the bay and stuff like that.
He's
But
another fantastic angler. You know, I think he won the one of the big tournaments on Winnebago with my baits.
Okay. Nice. See, the knowledge behind this, the memory and stuff like that, is still there. It's still there. Nick Treader says hi.
Nick's awesome.
Yeah.
Nick's awesome.
Yeah. And then okay, so like I said before, what we normally like to leave off with is some recommendations. Now you said, as far as recommendations go, you like mono, and I've known that. The braid de fluoro thing is something that is more recently come about. What do you like as far as a rod for tubes go? If you're gonna throw anything for smallmouth, open water, smallmouth fishing, what's the rod?
Usually 7-foot medium action.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll go with 7.2. I love the RPM rods. I work with Rick Morris.
Sure.
Out on the East Coast. He hooked me up pretty good, and I've been a custom rod builder since 1989, and I still got my rod lathe. I know you've seen it already,
Yep.
and I do some work. But right now with the prices and everything like that, you're better off to go buy a factory built rod. Unless you're looking for a specific technique. When I first started making them, I was making technique rods already back in 2000, 2001, 2002 to do certain things with, like throw a jig. You want a stiffer rod for a jig or a frog. You want a more flimsy rod for certain circumstances to take up the abrasion and the shock of the fish, you know. That kind of thing. So
I know Alex said 610 medium light, extra fast mags. We do stock those rods, the mags rods.
the mags rods are awesome.
Yeah.
I really like those too.
Yep, those are good sticks. What are you using for a reel? Is that Tatula?
I like the Tatua.
Yeah.
Tatua's a lot. Yeah, I bought 2 or 3 of them from you guys here this year. I've actually kind of switched over. I've really liked the Daiwa products, but I do got some of the lower cost PC Fun and the carbon and stuff, and I've done real well with that. I still got my original carbon. I still got my original, the older one too, and they're still holding up real good. The thing with me is, I'm clumsy, so I step on a reel, I break it. Them expensive Tatulas.
Right.
They'll kill you. So I keep those in my rod locker, and I try not to keep them on my deck, and I'll keep my more inexpensive stuff on the top. So
kind of tournament grade versus pre-fishing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So if I step on it and I don't break it, there's nothing more. If you're hot with a certain rod and you're catching a lot of fish and it's set up a certain way, and then all of a sudden you break it or the line goes to heck and you can't use it no more, it kills you.
Right.
You know that.
Yep. Yeah. Familiarity with product and confidence is huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Line. So just trying. So 7 foot medium, 2500 size spinning reel. Your choice on the reel. I mean, everything is you get the best drag you can is for what you can afford is pretty much what it comes down to. Line. You've been mono forever. 8-pound mono, 6-pound mono.
8 and 6 pound Chilene XL.
Okay.
Yep, it's got some stretch to it, so it can take some of the shock. You're not breaking as many fish off.
Right.
Get really long casts with it.
Yep. Now that was the other thing that you said. So in head-to-head against me on the final day, which I won again. I think it was like 19 pounds to like 6 or 5, something like that.
5 something, yeah. I broke 2 fish off.
Broke 2 off. Now I tied your fluorocarbon leader on that day.
Yes, you did.
I didn't see it or hear it, but I heard that you were cursing my name and stuff for a couple minutes there when you thought my knot broke.
No, not at all.
No?
No, I was complimenting you. I said, Tyson tied this up for me. And I admit it, I still don't know how to do that fluorocarbon.
The braided fluorocarbon leader?
Yeah, I'm still working on that.
Sure.
So that's something new, And like I said, I've never really done it. I started doing it for that tournament. I should have probably practiced with it for a couple of weeks before I did something like that. But when my boat broke in August, I kind of was boatless until Alex, my pro staffer, let me borrow his Ranger.
So now Alex does say Dan yells at me for a medium light. Now, because you're throwing a medium, he's throwing a medium light. Now, if Alex is using braid to a fluoro leader, that softer rod might help him a little bit more, whereas you broke off those fish, maybe a lighter rod's the way to go if you're going to run braid to fluoro.
Well, possibly.
All right.
You never know. You learn something every day, You just got to pay attention to what's happening.
Right, definitely. And then if somebody wanted to go right now everything's frozen.
Go down to Alabama.
Right.
Pickwick.
Come May, somebody wants to go out anywhere in this location and go smallmouth fishing. 3 colors you would pick.
Okay. The Bay of Green Bay, I would go with Great Lakes Goby, Green Pumpkin Copper, and Leech.
Great Lakes Goby, Green Pumpkin Copper, and Leech.
On Winnebago, I'd go Dark Melon, Leech, and Green Pumpkin Copper.
Sure.
On Matanga, I won't tell you.
Right. Go watch the head-to-head final day. You can see what we're throwing.
It's Dark Melon Copper and Green Pumpkin Purple or Green Pumpkin Purple and Gold.
Caught him on Old Ugly.
Did you catch him on Old Ugly? Oh, that's right. Yeah. It was Old Ugly at that time. Yeah.
Yep. I showed it off too. We sold a bunch of them right away.
I'm just glad you had success, and you trusted the fact that I was giving you even though we were competing, I was giving you the right information.
I know Dan's not gonna lie to me. Dan's about as straight of a shooter as anybody that I know. So if Dan says, "Hey, you know what? I'm catching them on Green Pumpkin Purple on the Bay," and it's 2 weeks before the state tournament, probably not gonna believe him, but I would. Because that's probably what he's catching them on.
Oh, you know how much that drove guys in my club nuts? I tell them right when I'm going to go fish, how I'm going to fish it, and what I'm going to fish with, and they don't believe me. And then when I go and do it, they think I'm lying to them. It's like, whatever, it is what it is,
Yep.
I'm a strong believer that when you go out fishing, if you keep your head in the game and you do what you're supposed to do, you're allotted X amount of bites per day. So if you give your presentation, you do your best, you get all these casts and you do all this stuff, you're going to get a certain amount of bites no matter what happens. You just got to execute on those bites. Some days you're going to get 35, 40 bites. Some days you're going to only get 2 or 3.
Yep.
It all depends, and presentation is huge on that.
For sure. For sure, guys. Well, I don't have anything else for you, man. If you want to touch on anything else, feel free. But social media, Daniel Elsner, to get a hold of Dan personally. Get Bit Baits, go to the page. I see Alex posted some links and stuff like that. I don't know if they work for the Google Docs and stuff like that. But if you're interested in being a pro staff member, shoot a message over to Get Bit Baits or go to the website. I think there's an application on the website.
Alex is the head of the whole pro staff, and then Jake Resch has taken up the doc part of it. And like I said, I got a great group of pro staff. We're all good friends. We all try to help each other out and make each other better anglers. Like Vince and stuff. Vince is a great guy. Ben Schneider is another great guy.
I got to beat Vince too, so don't feel bad.
What's that?
I beat Vince in the other head-to-head too, so don't feel bad.
But if all the other
I just had to say that.
If all the other people didn't start doing what Vince was doing, Vince would have won that. But unlike the guy who ended up winning that tournament and copied two different people and switched his areas because he's seen other people doing well.
Well, Mitch won that and just drop shot at the
Well, Mitch did a great job. He is unbelievable. His dad, Dave, is an awesome hook too.
Oh, yeah.
But the guy who took second, if you watch the video back, he kind of followed everybody around. After day one, he went to there, and he went to here, and then he even ended up by Mitch at the end. Isn't that a coincidence? Come on now.
Yeah, we do. It's a tough spot. I had that happen in the final day too. I had a guy literally sitting in my starting spot as I pulled into my starting spot for the final day. And it happens. It's fishing.
Truthfully, though, we all read the same books. We all watch the same shows. So we all think a lot alike. Sometimes people think it's kind of off. It's not. We probably have the same ideas and just a little bit different approach.
Yep.
But now the knowledge is so huge. You got so much information out there with all these awesome shows and podcasts. Now what are you laughing about?
Alex, I forgot Alex fished that one. I believe I think he fished the Madison one, and you can. He says you can watch me hang a tree stand while flipping. So I don't know exactly what. I'm so confused. It's
easy to confuse you.
It's not but just the way it's worded is different. You can watch me hang a tree stand while flipping. I don't know.
You could probably be standing there flipping, and he hangs a tree up.
Right.
Yeah, there's pressure on.
Just saying.
For you guys that don't think that there's pressure on in that type of format, there's a lot of pressure. I felt that weird pit in your stomach for a long time. Especially after I broke those fish off like I did on the second tournament. And then when I was up against Nick, I only ended up landing one fish that day. I lost a couple there too.
On Pelican?
No, that wasn't on Pelican. That was on Matonga. On Pelican, I broke one off and lost one. But there again, Ron Twardarski was on him. He kicked my butt.
Sure.
He's another great angler though too.
He is too.
Chris Frederick. Chris Frederick's he was in that. We had a pretty.
Freddie ended up winning it.
We had a strong batch of anglers in that tournament. There were a lot of good anglers in that.
Well, I was excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's kind of a bummer they're changing the format a little bit this year, but
it's supposed to open it up a little bit. It should get more anglers involved, I think, was the whole idea with head-to-head and stuff like that too. So I know it opens it up, not just the first 16 guys that have the money to pay for it that day. It gives people an opportunity.
As soon as I know when my new 2021 Triton's coming, I'm going to start hooking up and figure out if I'm going to fish that or I'm going to fish the Wisco. I definitely want to fish. Wisco's another great run tournament circuit. And I like the single stuff. I don't like the team stuff as much.
Sure.
You got to have somebody you can really trust. And me and Alex are starting to become partners, so me and him will fish a lot of tournaments together. He's not allowed to fish with anybody else on the bay now because I can't. I'm joking, of course, but.
Alex, if you want to go out, let me know.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's going to be hard enough to fish against him in Wisco because, him and Vince, all them guys are great anglers, man. Vince has got a lot of knowledge on the bay, too.
For sure.
And he's a great angler. He's got that happy-go-lucky, always positive attitude. I wish I could get that. I get so negative sometimes. People that have fished with me, you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
I get ignorant. So...
Tell Dan he is lucky he didn't fish open on Matonga. Took second.
Who's that?
Nick.
Nick? Oh.
Yeah, Nick tried.
Great job, Nick.
Yeah.
Great job. So
it was rough. That for some reason that bite window was real rough that day. But
it couldn't because all the head-to-head guys beat it up for 3 weeks, could it? You know, I go out there pre-fishing and I'm watching, you know, I went the week before. I didn't go during the week, but I watched guys out there just hammering on them that were in the tournament. I'm like, why are you catching so many fish? Because that's such a small body of water, you know what I mean? They get affected real quick from pressure.
Those guys that pre-fished out there that caught a bunch of fish, we're so lucky. I caught one fish pre-fishing out there, and it wasn't anywhere near where I caught him catching fish.
I didn't set the hook half the time. I got some bites where I wouldn't even set the hook.
Yeah.
You know, I just was out. In fact, I was going with a tube with the hook cut off.
Sure.
You know, to pre-fish or whatever. But I had a couple days. It was really weird because I found fish in like 3 feet of water, and I don't normally fish 3 feet of water out there. You know, I like fishing deep. I like fishing 16 to 18 feet. You know.
Yeah, that is confused. Dylan. Shout out to you, man. Dylan Williams. Huge head-to-head and in podcast viewer, man. I like this idea. We're going to do this probably the next time. Maybe we'll do this with Dan and a little follow-up to this. I know we're gonna wrap this up, man. We've already been in the studio for like 2 hours.
Where's the time went?
Zach's out here sweating right now. He's like, man, I got to keep zooming in this camera over there.
Where's the time went? I can't even believe it's been 2 hours. Seriously,
Right.
It is. It's almost 11 o'clock. Wow.
Right, man. Dude, shop with a pro. We're going to do that. For sure, man. That's awesome. Just simply because like we got the store attached to the stuff. We're gonna do that. Basically, his idea is like after going through and talking with you about that stuff, we're gonna go out on the floor and be like, hey, you know what? This is the bait. This is what I would throw here. This is the rod and reel that I would throw. Stuff like that. We're gonna do that. That's awesome.
That's cool.
I like
cool.
that, man.
Hook some people up.
Heck yeah, ideas are great. Ideas are great. Plus, we can post some links.
Well, you know, and some people are just going by certain recommendations. And what's really bad is in the industry, people get caught up on certain companies to work with because they're helping them out, and they're not really doing it for the right reason. You know what I mean? If everything I do and everything I talk about, I promote because I love it, not because I'm getting paid for it, not because I'm on their pro staff, because I love it. If they put me on their pro staff, that's even an extra bonus because then I get a discount.
Right.
You know? But you know, in reality, the fishing market right now, there's so much out there to look at. How do you wade through it all and get the right stuff?
Right.
It's tough. And if you don't have good information and good people that you can trust, that you can get that information from, you know, you're getting sold on something else. Perfect example, 95% of the pros, they don't tell the truth on what they're catching their fish on.
Right.
You know, they never do. They lie about it. Plain and simple. Why? Because they got sponsors. If they don't talk about it, it's because they're not a sponsored product and they can't talk about it. You know, I had it happen to me twice. Freaking St. Lawrence is one. I mean, there's some big tournaments won on my baits last year that, you know, nobody could say nothing about. I couldn't say nothing about. Mm-hmm. But I'm
sure you could. I'm sure you could.
No, I got respect. Yeah. I'm still always there though to help those people out. You know, there were quite a few people for FLW and MLF that got a hold of me that I hooked up that are on different teams or whatever. But I hooked them up and helped them out anyway because that's what it's about. It's helping each other out. You know, fishers of men type thing. Mm-hmm. You know, we all love the same sport. We all love the same thing. So, you know, you try to share that knowledge and help people out that way.
Right. All right, man. Well, hey, 2 hours. Crushed the record for longest podcast for Professional Overrun.
Wow.
Crushed it. It was easy. We just talked about smallmouth and tubes.
Fish. Talk about bass.
Yeah, just in general.
We could do a steelhead seminar too, you know.
We certainly could. That was the first question.
Yeah.
That was the first question.
I haven't done I think, when was it? 2000 that's actually 1998 or 99. I did Milwaukee Journal Sentinel Show in Chicago. I was doing the steelhead videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, man. No, that was Matt DeGrand asked that question about what's your setup for the Menominee River brown trout fishing. I remember that. Just going to plead the fifth on that one.
You know what it is.
I certainly do.
I showed you, but...
Could I actually rig it up and fish it effectively? Probably not.
Oh, you could fish it effectively.
I could rig it up too, but...
Tell him to get a hold of Casey Kiemick. He's still hammering them browns.
Oh, yeah.
He goes bass fishing with jerk baits and catches browns.
That's true. He did just catch a nice brown the other day, or a couple browns.
He's an incredible fisherman, too. Our club, that's what I hate about Tri-County, because you got all them studs in that club. It's hard to fish against him, and you got Getchell, and you got Winkler.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm
fishing as a co this year.
Josh Narrett.
He's a good stick, too.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's this thing. Now, I think if Kyle watches this, he's gonna hate me for this. There's this rumor going around, okay? That is, there is a club challenge, an open club challenge between Tri-County and Great Lakes Bass.
Cool.
So I don't know how it's gonna be formatted, but both clubs feel very strongly that they would beat the other club on whatever body of water they decide to fish on.
Flip a coin because it's going to be 50-50. There's great anglers in both ones.
Right.
It's a matter of what the bite is and what's going on. And there's so many different variables. We don't know what body of water, how they're,
Right. I'm excited.
So for one club to say they're going to beat the other club, it's just pumping chests.
Right.
Because I tell you right now, you could flip a coin. It could go either way.
Yep.
I've been in both clubs. They're both great run. They're both got great anglers in them. It's who gets on the right bite. You
Right.
know?
Yeah, no, just some local BS, stuff like that. We're all cooped up here for the winter time. Everything's frozen all the way around us. Can't go bass fishing anywhere within 6 hours of here now. It's been
at least.
0 degrees.
Well, my buddy Gary Kubiak down in Florida said it's only 32 down there today.
Yeah, that's rough, man.
That's enough to shut them largemouth down there.
yeah.
I'll tell you that.
For sure. Anyways, guys, social media stuff. Follow Dan. Get me baits. Purchase some tubes. If you guys haven't fished smallmouth with a tube before, the deadliest presentation for smallmouth all around. Right?
Definitely.
Yeah. And
you catch so many other non-target fish.
Oh
too.
yeah, you catch walleyes.
I've caught walleyes, muskie, northern, trout. There's pretty much nothing I've not caught on a tube.
Right.
Whitefish. It's crazy.
Plenty of bass can be caught through the ice. No.
No.
Not a fan.
I'm not either because like today with how cold it is, you bring that fish out of the water for more than 10 or 15 seconds, it's freezing.
Right.
Unless you're in a heated enclosed shack or something where that fish ain't getting exposed to that cold weather, it's not healthy for those fish.
Right. Nick likes the club idea. Bracket style team format, boater, non-boater, just bracketed style moves on. Club versus club. That would be awesome. There we go. Kyle is going to set this tournament up. It's going to happen.
Well, let's get Northwoods involved too. They got some great anglers too. Nick Treader. You got Ted Heitschmidt up there. You got dang it, can't think of his name right now.
Man, this is gonna get complicated real quick. One versus one club is easy. When you got a third. Just makes things more difficult.
Well, no, you just do different bodies of water in each club. So if we say the first tournament of the year, Great Lakes and Tri-County go against each other, and whoever wins that one, another club gets to go against them to try to knock them off. Maybe who knows? There's all kinds of different things.
We're gonna figure this out. This is gonna be something cool coming down the line here. It started as
well, Tri-County and Great Lakes have been back and forth challenging each other a long time.
There's a lot of good anglers in both clubs.
Oh, definitely.
No doubt.
Definitely.
No doubt. I picked the wrong year to be a co-angler, that's for sure.
Why? You get to fish with a bunch of great boaters.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to fish all them lakes as a boater.
Well,
The schedule's awesome. Anyways, guys, thanks for following. Thanks for watching. We're gonna wrap this up. I can see guys pacing around out of the studio.
yeah, let's get out of here. I got to get something to eat.
Heck yeah, it's lunchtime now.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.